Uh, okay, so I'm going to, again, this is give a little invitation for anybody watching this to take part. This is our empathy training design team, #1, and this is our 5th meeting so far. And we're working to design an empathy training MOOC which will build a culture of empathy. And we want to invite everyone who's watching this to take part and join us, because you can go to empathytent.com and there's a link to this project. And we invite you at any point to join. We're forming new teams. In fact, we have a team right now, 3 people to form it for a new team. So we're looking for 2 more to make our 3rd design team. And we want to invite you to take part and join us. So please do. And maybe we can go around quickly. Why should people join us and build a culture of empathy? Varsha, what's your,
I have to read, just a second.
Off the top of your head, why should people join us?
I need, just a second. Building culture of empathy is important to me because, in my opinion, people should first seek to understand others and then judge them for who they really are. If people practice empathy, they will get to know the reality of others and hence would have the right understanding about them. Having right understanding about others would help everyone connect with one another and bring everyone closer.
Okay, well, thank you for that. You're reading one of our assignments for today. That's great. Celia, why should people who are watching join us in building this MOOC?
It is the best opportunity for you to try it out, to really start from the beginning and make a difference in your own life, in your family, in your work environment, and beyond. But you have to start with yourself. And this is an amazing opportunity. All people who join want to join, so they have all the same aim of getting to know what is empathy and how it can enhance their lives.
Thanks, Peter. What do you say? Why should the viewers join us?
Well, because everybody matters. The people watching matter. People not watching matter. Everyone that you can imagine or not imagine in the world matters. And how do you hold that in your life? That everyone matters and that everyone's got something to say. And sometimes it's hard and sometimes it's easy to hear that. So what are you going to do to live with that?
And taking part in this training is going to help you learn that and learn those skills.
Mm-hmm.
Bill?
Well, I think that considering the problems that we face today, they're species-wide problems. And so we need species-wide solutions and a certain amount of cooperation in order to really address them. I talk about the ozone hole over the Antarctic and things like that. And it's not just about global warming or things like that, but it's also about a feeling of community and giving people a way to be heard. Joining this group would help you individually in your own personal life achieve that way, how to listen to others and how to also communicate effectively.
So if you want to save the planet, stop global warming, join our team. Yeah, great. So, okay, well, with that, that was just our sort of introduction, because we want to introduce, say hello to the people who are watching us and kind of invite you, welcome you to, watch what we're doing here as well as to take part. And if you don't want to join a design team, we're going to be having trainings you can just go through the process without doing any designing, which is what we're sort of developing the course. So, so the first thing, we're now going to start with our process here. And I wanted to introduce a new kind of an activity, which is the intention setting. So we want to set the intention for our meeting today. And the intention is to build a culture of empathy. And the culture of empathy, at the foundation, it means that everyone can be heard and seen and acknowledged to their full satisfaction. And that's sort of like the basic intention we have, and to build this empathy, to build a culture of empathy and build this curriculum. So for the people attending, does that work? That we got
Sure.
a thumbs up? Does that work, Celia? Did it?
Yeah, it's great.
With reservations?
Well, I want to be. It was so much. Could you repeat the one sentence one more time?
Well, it's basically our intention for this group is to build a culture of empathy for basically whatever that means to you.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So with that, we want to hold our intention, and the way we do that is we light a candle to just remind us that that is our intention. I'm going to set that here to the side, and we'll just keep that going during the meeting as our intention. So the next activity that next thing we want to do is for fostering empathy. You know, empathy is really about feeling into. So we want to tap into our felt experience. And so what we want to do now is just take about 2 minutes of quiet mindfulness, self-connection, self-empathy to feel into how we're feeling in the moment. And, you know, sense into ourselves and find a feeling that you're going to be turning that feeling into a physical motion and sharing it. And if you don't feel like doing this, that's fine. If you don't want to turn the feeling into a motion, physical motion, then don't do it. Just do whatever you feel comfortable with. So, and then we're going to be sharing that. So we call that the mirroring feelings exercise. And so to begin with, let's just take some deep breaths, get comfortable, kind of relax. If you feel like you want to close your eyes, you can do that. And just sense into your body. And just notice the different sensations in your body and feel into how you're feeling in the moment. Just noticing the different sensations in the body. So as we get ready to come back into the group here, notice some sensation and imagine turning that sensation into a physical movement that you can share with the group. You can even sort of practice it a little bit if you're wanting before you open your eyes. Just kind of, yeah, okay. So slowly coming back, opening our eyes. So as I was saying, the empathy is about feeling into ourselves and sharing our feelings as well as being aware of others. And so we want to now to kind of help that awareness is share one of our feelings. And I'm going to start. And mine is kind of like this. It's kind of an up. And if everybody mirrors it to until I feel like everybody's really got it. It's kind of a clenched fist, kind of a clenching and opening. Yeah, it's like, there you go. Kind of a clenching, up and down, clenching. Yeah, I feel seen. Thank you. And resonance. So the next person can go. Perhaps Celia, would you be willing to?
Yeah, when I just sat, I felt a zing in my heart, and it jumped up like, choo.
Oh, felt this old zing, kind of doing that exercise. So your feeling is this?
Well, it comes out of the heart. I don't know if you see the place where the heart is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You can even do sounds too.
Yeah, and it reminded me of 17 years ago, I designed New Empathic Awareness, and my youngest son was 7, and he designed a little logo for me, which was a heart. So all of a sudden, I'm back there. I thought, oh, lovely. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. So we all got it. You see it? Okay, thanks. Peter, would you be willing to go next?
Yeah. I just kind of, I'm almost feeling devilish. So almost, if you ever seen The Simpsons and you saw Mr. Burns do this with his fingers, that kind of.
Mm-hmm. Is there a sound?
Just like, yes. I feel like an evil villain in a movie,
Yeah.
like plotting. So. All right, I feel heard.
Okay.
Thank you.
You feel seen? Okay. Bill, would you be willing to go?
Sure. Very simple. Open support. Steady. Never give up.
Open support, steady, never give up.
Thank you. I feel seen.
Okay. Varsha?
Farsha, you're on mute, so we can't hear you.
This is the feeling I'm feeling in my head for past 2-3 days, like headache. This is like, yeah. It's like really squeezing from all sides of my brain. I feel heard.
Okay. So we want to get, just go around. How was that as an exercise? We're kind of stepping out now, kind of evaluating the exercise because we're this is one of the exercises and we're designing, going to improve on it. So does anyone have any kind of feedback on how was this as an exercise?
Go ahead, Celia.
I liked it very much because first I relaxed totally, and I thought, I just want to keep my eyes closed and not, just zoom off. And then this, with the movement, it pops up and awakens you again, but then from out that relaxation. So I think that's really great. Yeah.
I liked it. I thought it was fun. Also, you could then go off it. So, like, for instance, instead of just mirroring, people can add to it. So people, instead of just mirroring, could add a sound or add another look or do all sorts of other things to kind of build almost a scene of what people are interpreting that they're seeing.
Mm-hmm. Would you be able to set up that activity for a future kind of?
No problem. Very easy.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well, you could lead it then. Would be really cool.
All right. Okay. Well, there'll be a small remittance then.
It's, I can afford it.
Okay.
Peter, Jenny?
It was good. It's always nice to move a little bit and tie your emotions with your movement. So it felt nice to, just kind of felt nice to move my fingers, kind of release that energy almost, like the devious energy. So it was nice. And it was nice to see other people reflect it back. Mm-hmm. I liked it.
Okay. Celia? Varsha?
In movement workshops, we often project our feeling through the entire body movement. So just doing with hands, I felt really less pressured, less pressure. Yeah.
Oh, because instead of moving your whole body, just doing your hands, you felt less pressure for performing, sort of.
Yeah, and less judged. Mostly less judged. Yeah, because in the whole class, like there are so many people, and expressing your emotion and feeling through the entire body movement, I feel it is a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I feel it obstructive to move in front of others, like fully embodied movement. I feel it a little uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so the thing for me is because we're doing a lot of sitting, like you have 2 hours of sitting, doing this as a check-in, even periodically, I find it sort of enlivening. It's kind of getting the body moving a little bit instead of being so passive sitting. So, and I enjoy just moving in general. It just feels really good. So this is an activity we've done in previous empathy circles, and I haven't really been doing it recently. So I created the activity, on our site in our toolkit, and the feedback. We're going to gather that, and then I want to create a little video, kind of a sample of how it works, so it can be an activity that others can use. So thank you for that. Okay, so the next step we want to do is our on-arrival question. And I'm going to actually had my on-arrival question first. So I'm going to put it last. And this is going to be a little bit different. That we've been doing this on-arrival question in the group where we write on some topic. And from the human-centered design community, they have something called the 5 whys. Is that someone shares something, and you kind of ask the question, and then somebody asks 5 times why that is important, or why the person is saying what they're saying. And so I wanted to actually try the 5 whys as sort of a test here, this little exercise. So Varsha is first, and so you can just share what you have to say on our question. Our on-arrival question was, why is building a culture of empathy important to you? And you sort of mentioned it before, but if you could say it again. Then I'm going to ask 5 times why to what you say, and just kind of go deeper. This is a way of going deeper into what you're saying. So would you like to share why building a culture of empathy is important to you?
Yeah. Building culture of empathy is important to me because, in my opinion, people must first seek to understand others before they first seek to judge others. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm hearing that it's important, the culture of empathy is important because it's important to learn to understand people before you judge them. So why is it important to understand people?
Why is it important to understand people?
Yeah.
So that we can get to know about them, who they really are.
So why is it important to really get to know people, who they are?
So that we don't assume who they are. So if we assume who they are, then that's a lie. Assumption is a lie.
So why is it important not to assume and to lie?
Because if we assume others, so assuming others will give us a false information, and if we live in a false information about others, so our perception about others will be wrong.
So why is it important not to be wrong?
So it's important not to be wrong, because we'll be living in a wrong bubble, and if we live in a wrong bubble, then like it's not real. It's
Okay, so it's important to live in reality. So is what I'm hearing there.
yeah, and living in reality and getting to know others will finally help us bring people closer to one another.
Okay, yeah. So you want to bring people together and get past those, out of those bubbles.
Yes.
So okay, so that's why.
Like launching of bubbles rather than living individually in bubbles.
Okay, well, thank you. Then we'll do the same. That was our 5 whys. So Bill, if you like to share yours, I'm going to do the same with the 5 whys.
Okay, so it was pretty much simple, similar to what I said earlier. I believe that the culture of empathy is the only matrix that we can use in order to take care of each other and look at things rationally and compassionately.
Okay, why is it important to take care of each other?
Because we are creatures of, we are human beings, and when we feel that we're care of, then we act out and we do destructive things. But when we feel that we are being taken care of, then we're much more likely to cooperate. And also our mind is more quiescent and clear so that we can actually see what a problem is and then make an effective intervention.
So why is it important to you to make effective interventions?
Because that's the other feedback I think that people in a culture of empathy need. When you feel heard, you feel competent. And when you make a competent intervention, then you feel like you're talking and really communicating with nature as a whole, because you actually did something that had an effect that you could predict and that you could see the effect.
Mm-hmm. So why is it important to have, to be able to see the effect that you're having?
Because because as you expand out, you're expanding your knowledge. And you're learning new things and you're experiencing new things. And I believe that that's a very important key to individual mental health and also societal mental health.
Mm. So why is societal and individual mental health important to you?
Because the alternative is pretty ugly. We've seen what happens when people put their short-term interests in front of the long-term interests of us all, then we all suffer, even the ones who benefit temporarily.
Okay, thank you. Then Peter, what shall we do, the 5 whys?
Yeah, I just put down, like I said before, everybody matters. You know, building a culture of empathy is very important because everyone matters. And I like that saying. I like the saying everyone matters.
So why is it important to you that everyone matter?
Because if I'm part of everyone.
Mm-hmm.
That's it, you know. I'm part of everyone, and if I matter, then everyone matters.
Mm-hmm. So why do you want to matter? Why is it important to you that you matter?
Ooh. Yeah. It's important for me to matter because life is that beautiful for me. I'm thinking about it. And if I matter and everyone else matters, I'm able to maximize that beauty. Despite of all the other stuff happening around me, I'm able to really push for how beautiful I think life is.
So why is it important to you to have that sense of beauty?
because if I matter and everyone matters and we are able to connect with this sense of beauty, then we can create a world where there is a culture of empathy and a culture of this type of beauty within all our decisions and all our choices.
Okay, so that was the 5 whys. Then Celia?
I think empathy is the basis of even our existence. It has to do with survival. You have to feel empathy for the people that you live with in order for you to survive. You are part of them. You're not living on the earth by yourself. We are put here together, so there's something to it, and empathy is one of the big tools, I think, that needs to do that.
So why is survival important to you?
To create wow, why survival? Dang. Right. Why would we want to survive? I don't know. Survival may not be the correct word then. Maybe it is more to be of help for each other, and with that help to grow and continue to live. Yeah, survivors continue to live.
Mm-hmm.
You came here to do something, and you have to figure out what that is, and you can have the help of others to do so.
So why is it important to you to find out, to continue to live, to find out, to grow, I guess, to...
Yeah, or
maybe.
to know what you came to do here.
Oh, to find your purpose. Why? Yeah. So why is it important to find your purpose or mission?
Right. As for what I understand now in the stage of age I am and all the teachings, is that I feel like I'm developing something, and I'm not there yet. So otherwise I would have been gone. So it is like everybody has a kind of a task there to fulfill in order to expand and grow.
Mm-hmm. So why is it important for you to fulfill your task?
For me, it's very important because I even cannot not do it. Since I encountered that big question, why does everybody still like to play the Medea, like killing and jealousy? And we love to play it as actresses. We love to go to the theater and watch it, a play that was 2,000 years ago written, and we still love it. We still do it. And I thought, didn't we learn anything in 2,000 years? And that became such a big why for me to go on a search. And I forgot while I just was enjoying my theater academy, but then when I encountered the communication skills, then it hit deep. It's really that were the answers. Yeah.
Okay. So thanks. So I can go with mine. So for me, it was a couple of things. Building a culture of empathy to me is important because I see empathy as a foundational skill to really problem solve and foster well-being for everyone on the planet.
Why would well-being be an important thing?
It feels good. It's like well-being. It feels like it just has a feeling of positiveness and a sense of feeling of growth. So it's like these positive feelings.
Anybody else? Ask the next question. Why would you feel the benefit of that? Why would that matter?
Yeah, it's like my body is telling me when it's in pain. It says, "Don't do this anymore." You know, it says somehow it's like there's something biological in me. It's I think of Carl Rogers. It's a quote I use a lot is he talks about listening, which I think is empathy and a culture of empathy, and it feels damn good. There's a sense of it's the feeling of feeling positive, and the opposite is just all kinds of different anxieties, fears, pain, suffering. And so it seems struggle. Somebody mentioned struggle.
Okay, could I ask? So
Yeah.
why is it important to listen to your body?
I think you can't. Oh, yeah. Why is it important? It's important to listen to the body, to what the body is saying, because you can't help but do it. It's like there's no. Even when you're thinking, you're kind of listening to something in your body. So we're always in our body. If we're not in our body, we're kind of like dead. So it's like, non-existence. So it's like we cannot help but do it. I think there's no off switch. Okay, if there's any other question, I think that was like 3 or 4. So that's pretty good. Okay. So that was the on-arrival question added with what they call the 5 whys, which comes out of the human-centered design community, which is about, kind of trying to get to underlying motivation. So can we go around, like how was that, kind of for feedback? How was that as an activity? Like how did that work for you, Barsha?
I felt this activity, this why question, I felt it's very, it just opened the doors for possibilities for the unknown. Like it took us to the road of unknown, and it gave us so many answers. And while I was listening to the answers, I felt this session is so important that every person, including every person should take down the notes. Like after the session ends, we all should write our answers. And there's so much of content, there's so much of information and knowledge in all these things. That is again leading to empathy. So
yeah, I had the intention of everybody who wasn't being asked to write down, the answers, but this will be recorded. So I think it'd be good if we went through and transcribed this to add into the activities. So yeah.
It's like, this is like 2 hours. And if I want to refer to any answers, I have to go through the entire video. So punching the answers will be more quicker if I want to refer in the future. Because last time also I wanted to refer to our previous meeting, like session 3. But because there was no document, I could not refer, and I didn't have so much time to go to the recording.
Right.
So I think punching answers is important for our future reference, just to reflect.
Okay, punching numbers. What do you mean by punching numbers?
Noting the notes.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
For me, this exercise, and I think I noticed it with a few other people, there was that stop moment. It was that moment of, it really was that cognitive stop of, okay, I got to stop and really connect with what's important here. Because, even if you were kind of giving an automatic answer, then at one point, once you get the layer underneath the layer creating that cognitive answer, you go, oh wait, this does matter a lot. And that's kind of like our whole body shutting down to restart to really say what matters. So,
so you're going deeper behind just the cognitive, getting more into your body and saying, hey, what is really mattering here? Kind of the realness of the...
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Anyone else? Bill or...
Sure. Well, I thought it was, I agree with Peter in the sense that it does force you to reevaluate and finally look at the way you're defining things. So either sometimes you find, wow, I have a pretty strong, theme here. And then other times saying, well, this is what I thought it was, but really it's more of this or a mixture of that. And so it's, it fosters growth and some flexibility that way.
Marsha?
It also took me to the real core answer, why I think and why is it important. So when I was like answering my question, I have taken some clinical advice. I don't know who's that. What is that clinical therapy? What is it called? Clinical psychology session or something. So they keep asking you why.
Mm-hmm.
The person who is participating, it leads that person to the core answer to it. So that also it addresses the answer to so many problems or issues, like really to the core, and it goes back to the memory, like many years back, what happened, what incident happened, what was that moment that brought you to this moment,
Mm-hmm.
It really takes you down deep at the core.
Mm-hmm. It brings you down to the core of the experience or feelings. Okay, Celia, was there anything?
Yeah, I do think that we can do it without the word why, because if you really empathic listen, you do the same thing. You help a person going deeper. And the why, I mean, you're asking for the meaning of life here, finally, and that is not a fair question. So I do not think, I would not use it in my trainings, because it brings me further away from the skill of staying as close to a person as you can as a helper, instead of wanting to dive deep to the meaning of life.
Mm-hmm.
And you can end up talking about God or whatever, because nobody knows, so to say. So the why is really, for me, a block.
Okay.
An unnecessary one. So because for example, give me one example that someone says why would that be important. You asked me
for well-being. I was saying well-being.
Yeah, why would well-being be important? You would, in an empathic listen message, you would say, so well-being is very important for you, and then wait, and then the person is gonna figure out. And if he does not want to go there, then he says that was it, or you say, would you want to say some more of it? So you use a door opener instead of the word why, because why is asking for the deepest, like you say to a kid, why do you do that? You're asking deep psychological question there. So if we are training our people to use the word why, they're going to do that in regular life too, thinking they do a service. And I would just cut it out.
Okay. Yeah, so what I'm hearing there is that when we do empathic listening, we listen to what someone is saying, and they will open up sort of by themselves if they feel like that's the point where they're at.
Right.
Whereas the why, they are kind of like self-directed. Yes. And they will kind of just reveal what it is that they feel comfortable or ready to reveal. And so they're going into that inner journey through empathic listening, versus the asking the why is sort of probing and penetrating and could be intrusive, perhaps even.
Yes, it is. It is, because there, even though we now did it as a game, so it was clear our understanding. It was a game, so that is still okay. But I would not use it. I think it's time wasting to train the real skill.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we'd be better off focusing on the empathic listening versus on using an activity like this. So, okay, great. Well, those are all.
That's why I wanted to be last, because I want to.
Well, all of these, we're going to transcribe them and put them under the activity. So,
great.
So that's great. We want to hear everything. So,
I found it a little bit that definitely using this as a game, really focusing on this as a game, kind of would be helpful. Maybe in we're at the 5th group already, as a medium skill game. Actually it would work, I think. But really saying this isn't really empathetic listening, because it is too directive. It is too probative. At the same time, I had the experience of being heard by saying it, but it of course, we're all here. We're all, moderate to high skilled in empathetic listening at this point. We've worked together for a little bit. So I could see it going either way, to be honest. It's
Yeah.
just
So some people may actually find it enjoyable and something that they're enjoying. So there's going to be maybe a context that we do have a sense of connection already and trust. So maybe yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so it could go either way. I mean, it matters the group, it matters the situation. So I can play either way with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Varsha?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still questioning what is really active listening, because when when I was answering why, I felt I'm getting deeper, and it's making me making me really listen. And also when Celia asked, like, this is not empathic listening, then I'm wondering then what is empathic listening? Because yesterday I had arranged an information interview with one of the acquaintances in my performance art industry, and I felt I was listening to that interviewee, but then that interview, she's like, I need to learn to listen. So I said, what is listening? I'm still like discovering what is listening. I mean, I'm like so confused. What is listening? Like,
Yeah, so I hear you're just like wondering what is listening, and you got something out of this questioning, but you're just wondering, like, really trying to understand that what is listening and just kind of sitting with that question.
Yeah.
And you probably hope to get an answer. So
I'm confused.
What I can do, if I can go back to the recording, then I can maybe show where the whys could have been left out or don't matter. You yourself, Edwin, you added an empathic phrase before or after the why, actually. Before the why. So you say this and this and this. So why do you? So
I kind of combined. Yeah. I combined a little bit of empathic listening and then kind of pushed it further. I could have maybe just left it, and they would have said something else.
Yeah. But we can. I'll go over it when in the recording. So
yeah, great. Yeah, I think it'd be great if we transcribe this. So
I will do that.
Varsha?
Yeah. Is it like structured question and answer? Do you understand what is structured question and answer? Are you talking about that, Celia? Do you mean?
I don't know what that is. Even structured answer and question.
It's like why do you? Okay, I'll give you an example. Why do you think listening is important? So when structured answer is, I think listening is important because. So you and when you answer, you say the entire question and say because, not directly start because. You know what I mean?
Yes, but if I would ask you, so you think empathic listening is important? Because. And then you will fill in the because.
Yeah. No. I will start with the question first. I think listening is important because. So that is a structured question and answer. Do you, Celia, do you mean that's empathic listening? Are you referring to that?
No, that was you saying, you expressing yourself. That is your I statement, right? And then the listener will feed back to you. So you think it is important because, and repeats and takes out the gist, what you want to say, how deep you want to go. Yeah.
Okay,
well, that was, Bill?
I just wanted to say that this kind of segues to the chapter that we read this week.
Exactly.
Open closed questions. And it was really interesting because that's one of the things that I've been really interested in. And he talks about, so like he said, limiting to 3 questions or having open-ended questions that encourage more free flow than not. And something that someone told me, in being a teacher, and that's, there's a time to set limits and there's a time to be nurturing. And when to do those things is the art of the teaching, which involves deep listening to the student and seeing where they are and what they really need. And so as we go ahead, I would like to, feel, so we were asking questions. They were open-ended questions, but there were 5, not 3. So where does that kind of fit on this continuum? I don't think that we have to answer it right here. It's more of a rhetorical question, but I think we should encourage people to use their art and their sensitivity, and then know, okay, like if I'm going over here, I'm kind of going off the reservation a little bit, but you're somewhat in relation. I'm sorry, that's not very clear, but essentially the main point is that using your sense of individual understanding is important, and the ability to use that.
So it's important, what I'm hearing there is it's important to use your own understanding in terms of staying in relationship and in connection, and that this is what we're talking about now with questions is relating to the chapter.
Right, so we're talking
about questions.
I'm sorry, yeah. We're talking about the structure of empathetic listening, what it is, and then the question is that then there's real life, which is a much larger subset. So where's that integration? When do where's that line? And it shifts in different situations, and that's the art.
Okay, so there's like this sense of art in terms of knowing when to shift and move it. There's an art in terms of the listening and being attentive and listening well. It's not just maybe a structure, but an art to it, and being sensitive to that.
And not losing the structure, not losing it, but having it flexible. Thank you.
Okay. So that moves us into the, we kind of spent a little bit longer on this, but that was fine. We want to move into our empathic listening, and just to do a quick review of the chapter, sort of our summary. I've now created a separate page summary for every chapter since we're doing one chapter at a time. And we have chapter 7 is the asking questions. The important thing is not to stop questioning. Curiosity has its own reason for existence. Albert Einstein. The chapter is basically the role of questions and two types of questions, open and closed questions. And that's pretty much the essence of the chapter as far as I could see. So we can open it now to about an hour of empathic listening, about 45, 30, 50 minutes. And everybody knows how to do it. So who would like to begin and select who you'd like to speak to? And it can be about the chapter or just anything that's alive in you.
Okay, well, I'll start and I'll talk to Peter. Okay. So this question of asking questions and empathetic came up for me. And I have to first say that, so Edwin was there, we were doing a, empathetic listening, and I decided to basically go off the reservation a bit. And here's the situation. The situation was a young woman who seemed to be the sole support for her roommate. She was thinking of moving, and her roommate is very, very emotionally fragile, and she didn't know what to do. And so I know that to look at me, my generally slovenly appearance belies that I am a pretty highly trained individual. And I worked for a year in a hospital for suicidal adolescents. So as she was talking to me, there were several red flags going up. She was on medication, just a few comments she made, like the family was aware of this. Also know about in the early 20s, that's the onset of possibly schizophrenia and things like that. And so if she didn't present this right, it possibly, I didn't know, but it possibly could have really severe consequences. So, and then as I was talking to her, I could feel her spinning her wheels. And when I really listened into her, I felt that I said, do you want advice? Which is totally, I knew I was going off the reservation. And we talked about this, and I also want to emphasize how emotionally safe that I feel, and how nobody, we talked about it and people didn't quite understand it, but I didn't feel attacked or left out of the group. People really accepted me. So I really want that. That's very important to me. Otherwise, I wouldn't be talking about it now. But essentially, even though I was doing that, I felt that professionally, morally, and ethically, so what I did is I said, do you want some advice? So I asked her because I felt that that's what I was hearing that she wanted when I listened deeply. And I asked she said yes. And then I suggested that she talk with her roommate's family, who would know and have previous, this is how we do transitions and things like that. So I was trying to give an answer also that was process and open and not directed. She actually said, so then you think I should do this? And I said, no, I'm not saying should. I'm just giving you one example of where you might find an answer. So again, I don't have a problem with the group specifically, but like a mechanic is talking to somebody and he sees that their ball joint is about to go. That is, that could be, lose a wheel on a car. Do they step outside of the role? And how do they do that? How do you chart yourself? Okay, I'm going to go here. Because I'll tell you, if I have to make a choice between adhering to empathetic listening rules or making what I consider my professional and moral ethics, I'm going to make that decision every time the way I did.
Can I reflect back what I'm hearing? Because I'm hearing a lot. So, I thank you. It sounds like what you were saying is that, that you have this strong conviction to supporting this person that came to you. And with that year of clinical experience you had working in that intense situation, you were able to pull together an evaluation that, hey, I need to do some advice here. And that is what you felt was the thing to do in that situation to do the most good. Am I accurate?
Yes. And then the other part is that doesn't mean that empathetic listening is against that. The question is, here's a person who sees a need where real life sort of supersedes the structure. How do you do that? And how do you remain in relation? What I am thankful for is that I've established, personal relationships with Edwin and the other people there. And so we could just kind of like process through it. It wasn't a big deal. I could tell that. And I was very grateful about it. But as we develop a curriculum, what do we do about empathy shaming? And then if I know that, hey, listen, how do I relate to, say, somebody may not have that background? Oh, hey, I'm getting these red flags here. In other words, how do I go off the reservation but still maintain community, still maintain communication with my fellow listeners and empathy people? And that's the question.
So the question you're asking is essentially, and I'm going to paraphrase in my own words because I'm hearing it in a certain way, that how do you really make this work? Like, it's a balance of developing this beautiful culture of empathy and living in the world that we live in today and making sure that people are safe and comfortable and that you're feeling confident with the community that you've created and your own skills that you're able to do that at this time. And you're kind of just exploring, how do you carry that skill forward? How do you make it so that this becomes part of that culture of empathy? Is that accurate?
Yeah, it's a very tenuous, because I don't think that the culture of empathy is against what I was going to do. Like if I met Edwin or anybody on the street, any one of you on the street, and I said, oh, this is what happened and this is what I did, you wouldn't say, arrest that man. So the question is that, how do you, okay, so I wasn't doing the listening as per, so, where does that leave you? How do we bridge that gap? Yeah. I don't know if I have an answer for it. The only thing I really want to say again is that the non-judgment and the support that everyone gave me without words just, helped me through. And as a matter of fact, reveal what is, which is I feel vulnerable when I say it.
Mm. So what I'm hearing you say is that you had this vulnerable moment where you had to go off the reservation and where you didn't have to follow the rules perfectly. And you felt really seen and heard for that, and really held by the community, who acknowledged that sometimes you got to go into four-wheel drive and jump off the highway and take that back road that you really have to do in order for it to work.
Yeah, and I don't know whether they would have agreed with my methods, but they certainly seem to accept me as a person, which is more important than anything. Thank you. I feel heard.
Thank you. For me, I'm thinking of, again, now that you said it, I got to say, because I'm a social worker, this is every day, it's the question of.
Who are you speaking to? Back to Bill?
Oh, yeah, thank you. Varsha, could you hear me?
Yes.
So
one request. If you could do your conversation in small chunks, because I have short memory.
Very well.
I genuinely mean I have a short memory. I can't retain long.
Don't worry about it. I can do it. I hear you. So I'm just thinking of, particularly because it's the yes or, I'm thinking of how connecting yes or no questions are. Now, and William's making me think of it in terms of, whether I'm at work or whether I'm at home. If someone walks in the room and goes, I really got to go to the bathroom, you don't go, oh, you really have to go to the bathroom. You don't. You go down the corner to the left. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with existing outside of trying empathy and being empathetic. Rather than trying, I'm just okay with doing.
So you are questioning the effectiveness of yes and no question, which is closed-ended question, and how the closed-ended question would really connect to empathy. And you are more comfortable embodying empathy rather than trying empathy.
Yes, thank you. Oh, that's something that's really dear to my heart. As I realize you're saying it, because to be honest, I don't like formal empathy that much, and I don't like following certain empathy rules. But my heart is totally into it. My heart's being present, hearing where someone's at. Just particularly the people I've trained with in the past. It was language rules. And to be honest, I gave up on them. Maybe a year or two in, I said, you know what? I'm just going to love people. And that works for me. I'm okay with that. And, I put the intent out and my body follows, kind of thing. Yeah.
Sorry to cut you. Sorry. So you actually listen to your surrounding, what's happening, like you really connect with your surrounding, attend to the surrounding, and go with the flow, and you go where interruption or where transition is required rather than follow the rules of empathy. And what I hear you, as I understand, you don't like a language has a grammar, you don't like to follow the grammar of empathy, but rather just live empathy or embody empathy. Is that what I heard?
Yes, thank you. And to be honest, a lot of the work I do for, in my own practice as a social worker, in my work as a professor even, has been my own self-empathy. I get into a situation, I get through it, I do lots and lots of just being empathetic to myself after, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with not being perfect or even good with my empathy in that moment. Just being present is enough for me, and so I'm okay with that.
You are okay being present in the moment, and you're okay not being perfect in empathy, and that you practice empathy in your social work and in your teaching what I hear you say is that empathy comes to you naturally rather than test yourself, see yourself, that whether you're really following the empathy or whether you're really following the rules of empathy. You don't judge yourself. You know it. You are living the empathy, being empathic person, right? That's what I heard. I understood.
Yeah, you got it. But there's also the quality of, that's a kind of teaching that I hope other people get. That, in the end, there's rules and there's words, and even now we're making rules and words, but it's a curiosity. And how do you really have people just get? You're just going to get it. It's just going to come. It's just going to come, and even if people, in my opinion, even if people don't focus on learning empathy in the way that life is, they're going to learn little bits of it just to survive. Even if they don't even care anything, they've never heard the word empathy. It's inherent in people. And I've seen it, people like to say New York City is this mean place, but every day I see people be empathetic in magical ways, and none of them have ever done any empathy training, and it's just true. And if that can happen, then, really focusing on it can really do magical things.
So
it's just what it is.
Okay, so what I hear you say is people don't really, people know, people actually live being empathic person, not necessarily that they are being taught empathy. And you come across people every day practicing empathy, specifically in New York City, which is known for being selfish or commercial minded or whatever, and you have faith. So what I hear you say is that empathy is part of humanity, is part of human body, of a part of livingness of human. And if people actually focus on practicing empathy like consciously, then there would be magic.
Yeah,
it would be a different thing, different place, different world.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel heard. Thank you very much.
Okay. I feel lost. So maybe if I can, I don't know what to say. I'm like, no.
The first step is you select who you're going to speak to.
Celia.
Okay.
After listening to Bill, to Peter, I have a sense of feeling that I know empathy and I practice empathy, but I don't know, where am I missing? I don't know, where am I missing listening people? So maybe,
Did you really wonder, is there an area that you have skipped, that you were not aware of? And like Peter said already, it is in us, and you wonder, oh, what did I miss?
Yeah, I'm really, I used to believe that I'm a good listener. I believe I'm a good listener, and people around me also have told that I'm a good listener. In a way that Bill was saying, that really feeling into people. I believe I have some kind of skill or capacity to listen to people deeply. I do, but I don't know where am I going wrong? Not wrong, but what is missing?
Yeah.
So I'm referring to yesterday's meeting to this lady. She's elderly. She's highly experienced artist. And she clearly told me that if you want to work in the community engagement setting, you really need to listen to people. I said, what? Really? I don't know how to listen.
Wow. So that was like opposite of what you encounter, see of yourself, that you feel, I am a listening person. And here's this woman, and she says, hey, you better listen. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Then I think, means I don't know what is listening then. I really need to dive deep. So I'm like, puzzled. I'm like, oh.
Like if she even says it to you, like you did not do it at all or something, then what is it?
Yeah, I think so. But she did make a comment that made me wonder, like, what is it?
Yeah. What is listening?
What's the gap? Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
And yesterday, after talking to her, like all these while, I've been thinking about different activities about empathy, and I was communicating with Bill about like mirroring gesture and like using gesture for communication and mirroring and all that. I'm aware about this, but I was not really getting into like really articulating it or just getting into the core. And this I was communicating with him yesterday, day before yesterday, right? And yesterday, after talking to her, it brought my attention. Forget about gesture, forget about mirroring, just concentrate on listening. So,
Like after, even though you talked to Bill a long time and you did this, the listening skills with mirroring, after that one remark, it just faded all out and said, what is listening? Forget about all the other exercises. What is it? I want to know.
Yeah. So now I'm thinking, oh no, I have to start from zero now. Listening. What is listening? So I think that is I think I should focus on really understanding listening first before even getting into other things like reading emotion, understanding emotion. So it gave me understanding yesterday that reading emotion is the secondary stage. First, listening is there, and all this while I was like wondering, empathy circle, listening, and all. Is it really related to my practice that I want to do? And yesterday it gave me that grounding and rooting. Yes, listening is the first thing that I need to
Oh, perfect. So after even hearing that lady saying that, it's confirmed to you, it is an important thing. It is first on your plate.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I feel heard.
Okay, thank you. That leaves me with Edwin.
Yep.
Yes. Wow. Yeah, I'm very excited about what I all heard of the previous speakers. And for me, of course, it is always, yes, listening has its place. It's not always. And there are things that you feel very strong about, and you have to come at first, actually, depending on how strong is your emotional state. Like if my kid is running over the street, I'm not going to say, hey, you would like to cross the street. I'm just grabbing him. Okay, even I may hurt him or whatever. I don't question that. So there are moments that your authority, or even if you know, like William said, know more or know better, or see as the mechanic, the bolt of the you have to step in. That's but whenever you have overpowered at that moment, you have to explain why you did it. I know that you wanted to run off with your car, and I held you back because I saw that bolt on the wheel not being fixed. I'm sorry that, but you made me late and whatever. So they may not even hear it in the beginning. And then you shift to listening, and then you take it back to yourself and you say, and that's why I did it. So that the full understanding is there. So listening has its place, but it's just a little part of the whole communication.
Mm-hmm. So you're saying that listening has its place and it's part of the whole communication. And if there might be a time when you just have to take an action to for safety, for example, reasons. But once you've taken that action and just did something like keep the child from running into the streets, then you go through and you have a dialogue to sort of reconnect about why you did what you did and had that more authoritative approach. And
sure,
you're sort of bringing it back to the connection and the mutual relationship and the empathic relationship.
Right. So you do that always. You can always come back to empathic listening. Like in the case of Bill, he says, "Can I advise?" And she says yes. And then she said, so do you mean that I now should do that? Okay, in that case, you listen first. So in that case, you say you feel now pressure to do this instead of taking it back to you. So then she's calmed down, and then you say, well, it was one of the options that I thought of. So that she's calmed first before you come. So it is, when do you do what? And that is, you get a feel for it. You will, like Peter says, it will happen. Mm-hmm. And for Varsha also, it will come to you because you are busy with it, with your hunger and wanting to know.
Mm-hmm. So it's a sort of, you didn't quite say it this way, but it's a sort of more of an empathic way of being. So you kind of go in a direction, like with Bill, kind of giving the advice, and the person saying, oh, should I do this? And he's kind of bringing it back. No, it's this empathic way of being. I'm not saying you should do this. These are options. And he's trying to but maintain a sense of connection with this person.
Sure. But instead of restoring or answering, because that is not really a question of her question has an underlying feeling, with it she was fearful or whatever she was. And you try to get that on the table, you get her feeling on the table, and then it is open to any solution. So,
So kind of the first step is to really hear what her feelings are and her concerns. And then once those are there, then you can just bring in the creativity and the solutions to.
Yes.
But first you got to kind of connect to what the issue is.
Sure. Yes.
Or the feeling.
What the underlying feeling is.
The underlying connect with the underlying feeling.
Right. And I wonder, because I just try to model really empathic listening at the spot with Varsha. I don't know if you saw or anybody felt that it was different than what we do normally.
Mm-hmm.
My question.
Okay, so you were really trying to model empathic listening with Varsha, and you're just kind of like wondering if anybody noticed the difference between just reflection and really connecting with the deeper feelings.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So that is what I would want to have some responses if people would like to give, or Varsha herself.
Okay, so would like
just give an example of that moment where you were saying.
But well, we got the turn.
Oh, sorry.
So if you want to hold it, if you'd be willing, so
yes,
it'll come around again. So I will speak to Bill.
Listening.
So with there's always this quality of the structure of the situation, right? Like right now, Celia is asking this question to the group, right? And so Varsha, we have a structure. What?
Varsha.
Varsha?
Yes.
So Varsha has we got a set of phone calls, so I got a little distracted here. So it's like we have a structure that we agreed to, and then there's a question been posed, and somebody else jumps in. We can say, "Oh, let's go with the structure," right? But we don't know that there's two issues. There's one issue that the person whose turn it might say, "It's my turn. I want fairness here." It's like, it's my turn to speak. It's like, I don't want my turn usurped because we have an agreement of how we're relating here. So, so there's kind of these different, there's these subtle issues, and I always kind of, so it's like, so to kind of think of those is.
So as I get it so far, you were talking about, Celia's asking the question, and also going, which is in a sense going outside of the structure of
exactly.
Talk about things when it's almost like a meta question, because that's what we're talking about. About going out of the structure, and then how do we do that?
Exactly.
And then also the other part is, and in this case, it's not just simply structure for structure's sake, but it's also structure because in the rules, if somebody doesn't get their turn, they can then it's the structure relating to a feeling of fairness and a feeling by everybody. So it's not just structure you're feeling; it's that connection, or the emotional space that the structure creates for the individual.
Yeah, that's a good insight. That that there are structures, and those structures are there for some reason. You know, even if it's a structure just because we're terrified and we want some kind of order, right, in reality or something like that. So there is the structure. I guess we don't want to demean the structure either. But so there's kind of these questions and that we need to kind of look at. So, and it relates to kind of the drawing within the lines, drawing out of the lines, and so that's something to think about.
So what I hear you saying is that yes, there is life outside of empathy training and things, but that also that these rules have been drawn up for a real reason.
Yeah.
And so and what I hear that I feel, and also, but I hear in your voice and that I hear in the group, is this kind of creative tension around it. How do we honor the structure while honoring the individual experiences, and then, keep that as a cohesive whole? Yeah.
And one way is that, like, for the situation that happened, with the woman you were talking about, I mean, there was different things were happening. One was, it was sort of, Dave was creating empathic listening, creating it in this empathy circle framework.
Right.
So he added some reflection. He asked the person to reflect back. So we were, and plus you were not trying to like control it. You were trying to give advice, but then also from your experience, but then also not having her just kind of like take it. You're saying, no, this is just a suggestion. This is not what you have to do or should do. This is just a piece. So there's a lot of kind of subtleties in this, and it's basically, maybe it's the intention. It's like we have the intention of creating this empathic way of being, and that we're always, even after the fact, something is going to break, things will break, but we always come back to having that dialogue to talk about what happened. Maybe is kind of one of the things that I see, like we're doing now, kind of too. We're kind of talking about it, and we're doing it within this empathic container.
Right. So in using the example, there was another guy there, Dave, doing reflective listening, and we were both doing it, and I wasn't trying to control it, but I couldn't keep quiet about what I knew, and there seemed to be a way, although I don't think we've picked out the structure, that we sort of went through it. We got through it. We maintained our relationship. We maintained the idea of the structure, and the information was given without a major blow up. So it's a question of, and that is the question that we're kind of dealing with here.
Yeah, it kind of deals with the whole empathy tent. It's like, in how to kind of hold an empathic presence, because it gets pretty intense out there with kind of all the stuff that's happening. We're in the middle of riots, and it's like, it's really about that empathic presence that we hold, because I feel safe within that somehow. In the most intense situations, the most screaming, yelling stuff flying through the air, people beating each other up, I feel kind of like a sense of, on one hand, a sense of calmness when we have this empathic grounding within that. So, and I kind of worry, and not that you were doing it, but I do worry that we have people coming into the tent who don't have that grounding, and that things can blow up. And that's also why I want this training, is that we kind of train people before they come into the tent to, kind of learn these skills and develop this trust and stuff.
Right. So your concern is that that the structure, that your personal experience with the structure and the empathy structure and the listening circle and things is that it makes you feel secure and peaceful in the most, disruptive environments. And that because that's your experience, and because you also want other people to have that same grounded experience and keep others grounded, you don't want to lose sight of that structure and what that's doing.
And have this training too. I think this.
Right. Sorry, finish. I'm sorry.
Oh, just to have this training was the last piece.
Right. So then the training is a part of really helping people to understand the structure, and then to, let's say, internally take it in well enough so that they can be safe and they can be consistent. But also they're not, I'm reading this in, but I don't feel you want them to feel too constrained. In other words, if you go off the reservation, you're going off the reservation, and you don't want to go too far, that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's not that. It's just, I think it's having just the intention is probably the important thing, is that we have that empathic intention.
Okay, so we have a strong structure for empathic intention.
Or not even a structure, just have the intention. I think underneath it is just having that intention. Okay. Even getting away from structure or no structure, it's just we have this intention and we're going to come back to it. No matter, whatever happens. Yeah, I'm kind of going on here. I feel like I'm taking too much time. So
that's okay. I think it's I'm sorry. There I am off the reservation.
You see, you're off the reservation. I don't feel heard. I don't need it.
But I think there's an important distinction you made, and I think it's you're talking about the feeling of empathy rather than the intellectual understanding of empathy. That it starts with that feeling.
Yeah, and feeling and intention. Yeah. So, yeah. Well, with that, I feel heard. Thank you, Bill.
Okay. All right. God, I don't know. I feel that was intense. Okay. What's up for me is that I feel really glad that we're having.
Who are you speaking to?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll speak to Celia.
Hi, Bill.
And I will personally thanks, Edwin, for keeping the structure, there. That's really helpful.
Oh, freezing up.
I feel speaking to Celia, and I'm telling Celia that I'm thanking Edwin, for keeping the structure. But I think it's important to have this. Because we're not necessarily coming up with a rule here, but I think that one of the keys, coming from my personal experience, is that being able to talk about it and bandy it about sort of dissipates a lot of my own resistance. And I think that somehow in the curriculum, I'd like to see that somehow accommodated for, so where people can kind of, be flexible. The structure can be flexible so people can express that. So,
like it gives also kind of a safe place for you to experiment with things because of a structure, and you're happy that Edwin reminded us of it. And
yes,
it gives how do you say that, strength to continue and to do this. Right.
And the sense that we can just have a rational conversation about it. So the other thing I emailed to Edwin, this is a little bit moving on, but he was talking about the harvesting the information. So I sent him just an example of a 5-step lesson plan, which I thought was fairly non-judgmental. Again, it's not meant to be set in stone in any sort of way, but as a way to kind of structure things, because we're creating a lot here. We talked about searchable databases, putting this all on transcript and things like that, which would be very difficult and time intensive things to do. Not that, we shouldn't do it, but on the other hand, if you create a lesson or if you organize things, that gives you a shorthand and helps organize. When you revisit it, you have a lesson. These are things, and so I invite you to take a look at the lesson plan. Again, it's for direct instruction, and that's not exactly what we're doing here. So therefore, there would be things that we would change automatically. But I just wanted people to know and to start to think about structure so that we can kind of put these into nice little, organized information, not just information.
Yeah. So the fact that you came up with a lesson plan actually fits into the idea of what is the structure and can we have a safe environment because of a structure. And even with all the things that you want to organize in a database, that is besides that, and it may be not all valid, but it is a start of having something really organized and structured that can help us to build this whole lesson plan.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. I feel heard, Celia. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Peter.
Yes, I'm here.
Yes. Let me see. Wow. A lot. Let me still come back to the questions from the chapter one more time. Is that he says that to ask open questions. And it looks like these examples that he gave, I would use them maybe as a starter. You can use them as a starter. But I think there would be blocks if you use them in between, because then it's more like you want to know what the person has going on than that the person wants to talk.
Can I reflect back?
Yes, please.
So you, in reading the chapter, you're noticing a technical point in how the questions are set up that you could maybe use it to start the conversation, but you don't see it as connecting at a certain point. That technically it will actually lead to disconnection if you ask questions in that way, because it's more about your curiosity rather than actually connecting in that moment.
Correct. Yes, fully. Yeah. On the other hand, and that was my end, what I wrote at the end of the chapter is, even though I'm not a fan of questioning, anybody who gets attention to them will grab it with two hands. So any question, it doesn't matter. Just do it. Just connect. Be interested in a person. Whether you need to ask why, please do it. It's the interest that finally touches our heart, that we are worthwhile having attention on us.
So you're also noticing that despite that small technical incorrectness, overall, having that connection and having that curiosity and that authentic curiosity to someone's heart will open them up eventually. It's just, it's a sense of time and speeding it up or not.
Right. And I, of course, I do this work so long, so I have big flags here and there, but it does not mean that this book by itself already is a gem. Please spread it out. That's what I want to say.
You're really appreciating the teaching that the book does have, even though you have the small little nuances, but the small little nuances exist everywhere, it sounds like.
Yes.
So long you can work with anything, so you're doing, and you're really enjoying this book.
Yes, thank you. All right. Thank you.
You feel heard? So
yes,
good.
I'm fine.
So, for me, is there anyone left that didn't go, or?
Rasha, I think, was.
Rasha, okay. I am thinking and hearing everyone, I'm realizing that I'm not a person that likes rules, in my social work, I just don't, I'm always the one that kind of, I'll try to break the rule if I can, but I'm sitting and hearing and really appreciating the structure here. It makes me think of just, that rules are important. and that they exist for a reason.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is you says that you are a rule breaker, but after listening to our conversation, you have started appreciating the structure, and you also have started understanding the significance of the structure.
Well, not so much like right this moment, but like I'll give an example like this. So I've been watching, I have a 9-year-old niece who loves watching cooking shows. So I watch cooking shows with her. And there are rules to cooking. Like someone yesterday was like boiling a pot of milk and they accidentally threw in a cup of vinegar. And that's not going to work. And that's just a rule. You don't throw a cup of vinegar into a boiling pot of milk. But, and it's, and it was, I was actually thinking about it yesterday as I'm watching. It's like, wow, there's so many things that these people can do. Like in the cooking show, the people are given 4 random things and they have to cook with it. They have to make a meal. And I'm thinking like, that's not a lot of rules, but there are rules. Like there are ways that you can make this work and there are ways that you just can't. And I've been thinking about that in relation to being empathetic and to the limits that are actually empowering for us to have, and at the same time the limits that we put on ourselves that in many ways are artificial.
So I hear you say that you empathize. You empathize with the structure, meaning that you really understand where certain rules are applicable and where certain rules are not applicable. You gave me the example of cooking. Like for certain things, you need rules. If you break the rules, then the result is either going to be different or there's going to be a disaster. So you better follow the rules. Like it is required that you follow the rules if you want a certain result, a specific result. It's like a chemistry.
Yeah. And it's kind of making me think of, once in a while, and maybe it's when I have a bad day at work or when I just don't feel effective. Sometimes I tell myself, and I do, it's jokingly, but I say, man, I wish I did something that had better rules. I wish I did chemistry or something, like I wish I knew that you can go, 10 seconds of happiness plus 2 seconds of joy equals healing, some kind of equation or something, And so I am very much appreciating the power of rules, and I'm appreciating the power of breaking rules at the same time. And I don't think they're opposed. I just think it's something to exist in, that we just live in a world of rules, and there's a lot of choice around that.
Where did you start? I forgot where you start. From what was the starting conversation? But what I hear you say, that when you suddenly have a bad day in your office, you really wish that it would be nicer if you had some rules where you can deal with the day in a better way when you feel frustrated, so that you feel a little calmer and joyful. So you sometimes imagine that some formula that would keep you peaceful and joyful, and you really understand and you really empathize with the power of having the rules and the power of breaking the rules. Like, yeah, and that happens only when a person can really understand what rules are, why the rules are being created in the first place, and not follow blindly.
Well, now that you're saying it like that, maybe that's something that I really want people to understand when they're learning about empathy and, developing that culture of empathy, is that the rules that exist in reality, whether they're these logical rules of literally the speed of light or whatever, or they're these emotional rules, these are our tools. These are our tools to create, Might have been some weird concoction that if someone threw, vinegar into boiling milk. It could make some chemical they could use to put on a steak or something 10 steps down the road. I didn't know what the chef was doing. But it's just appreciating that exists, that there's that capability to that the rule, we learn the rules so that we can use them to our advantage.
Yes.
And that's good. That's a good place to start.
So you really wish that people, when people learn empathy, or when they are in their journey of learning empathy, they really understand the structure or the rules so that they can use the rules as a tool, but not as an imposing thing, or, or take it as a pressure to follow.
So it is, I'm realizing you're saying it. It's exactly what Edwin says. It's a culture of empathy.
Yeah.
Like, even now, I really loved when Edwin slowed us down and said, hey, whose turn is it? Because to be honest, I do value that fairness and that kind of, that shared reality of like, yeah, we're a group and everyone does matter. By having that rule, we make sure that everyone matters.
Yes.
Even if it seems like it's slowing that down almost, but it's not, because in the end, if it's not everyone mattering, then it's not being that culture of empathy that we want.
So having rule is equivalent to having fairness to everyone. That also maintains certain order. And I just want to tell you that when you mix vinegar and milk, you get cottage cheese.
Which is not what the woman wanted in the cooking show. So,
That's how I make. Either you use vinegar or you use lemon in boiling milk. So you get cottage cheese.
It's funny because...
Okay, wait a minute. We got also another rule, 5 minutes.
Okay. So... that's it. I'm complete. Thank you very much.
Celia, you only talked once or twice?
Me?
Yes, I mean Varsha.
I just talked once. It's my turn.
Okay, so it's your turn. You have one last turn. I think we have.
I will talk to Celia because my conversation is incomplete.
Okay.
Celia, you were talking about something that you mentioned about that you introduced some rules of empathy or something, some different structure. What was that?
That I did a way of listening to you. Is that your question?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mentioned a slightly different way that comes, I think, after empathic listening or the reflective listening. So empathic listening has different components. Reflective listening is one part of it. And empathic is really helping you find your what's the emotional part of it and see if there's something underneath.
Okay. I'm kind of little understanding, but not really. If you can give me example. So what you're saying is reflective.
Yes.
No, reflective empathy or reflective listening?
Yeah, what we do, I think, in our group sessions now is reflective listening. So you try to capture what a person said in words and what they may feel. And in empathic listening is I open myself totally up to see where is your underlying basis. What do you actually want to tell me? Is there something more than what you say in words?
I hear you. So empathic listening is really opening up and really understanding what the person is saying, and reflective empathy is making sure that you listen well.
Yes.
So right now what we are doing, like we have been doing in these 2 rounds, is reflective empathy.
Yes, the reflective listening, and and yes, and very important. And go ahead talking so that I can reflect you back. I stepped out of the rule.
Structure coming. I have to say that I was a rule breaker for a very, very, very long time. And I didn't have understanding of rules and I hated rules. But when I started teaching ESL, that moment I really understand why rules or structures are important. And since that moment I started respecting rules in an office, because before I started teaching ESL I used to work in corporate, so I always hated rules, and that's the reason why I never liked working in the corporate world, because that didn't give me a platform or a window to express my ideas and all, because I'm a creative person. So I started really respecting structure, discipline, rules after I started teaching English.
Oh, right. So after being in corporate, where you really hated all the rules, and then all of a sudden you find yourself being in ESL, and here there are rules, and then you see the benefit of it and the importance, and that can help.
Yeah. And I always wondered, I always had this conflict that if we have a structure, there won't be any creativity. But like now I'm like more into creating, more into practicing, like I'm more into practicing my art. So I really feel without structure there is no creativity. So yeah, like creativity first has logic. First you have the logic, and then you describe in a different way. It's an expression. Creativity is individual expression, but if there's no structure, there's no art. So art also has logic. Like it's like humans. Human has skeleton. The skeleton is a structure, and despite of having a structure, every individual is different. So that's creativity.
Right. So actually, before, like you thought, creativity has to break the rules. You cannot have them. Then finally, you discovered no, they actually are the framework, like a skeleton. And once you go by them, you end up with your creative process.
Yes, it gives freedom. Structure gives freedom.
It makes you free. The structure even, because also you know where are the boundaries. It doesn't float away or something.
Yeah, and it gives context. Structure gives context.
Yes. All righty.
I feel heard.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, then that was our empathic listening. We did want to do the try it exercise. Was there something, Celia? Had you thought about that, or is there any? We're kind of.
Yeah, I don't see why that could help, but again, it could be a fun get together, like in a party. If people want to do something in a party, you do that kind of exercises to have a fun relational party instead of only dancing or whatever. So for me,
what is this activity?
That's the last one, the try it. One thing that you should know about me.
Yeah.
And then the listener tries to figure out more about you.
Could we try it with someone? One person at least? Do you want
to? Oh, you mean me?
Or whoever. I mean, should we just try the activity? Just go through it once at least with one person?
Yes, someone else wants, please. I'll listen.
I would like you to lead.
You want to say it, Rasha? Yeah.
But I would like someone to lead, because I don't remember the activity.
Oh, well, you just say a general statement about yourself. If you want to.
I'm a rational person.
Okay, that could be the start.
Okay, it's like one thing you should know about me, I am a rational person, okay?
Right.
One thing you should know about me is that I'm a rational person.
Okay, now we ask questions, right? And
each of us? Or?
Yeah, I guess we could, however you want.
Okay, like you do everything with thinking about things.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Oh, Are we stuck?
Yeah, we're going around. So, like you're very structured.
Yes. Logical.
So everything has to make sense when you do it.
Yes.
Does that extend to your finances? You're not rational.
No.
All right. Well,
Does
now
it
I don't understand that. That my husband handles.
does it relate to your husband?
In terms of finances, no. Women don't understand finances, logical reasons of finances.
Okay.
Okay, that was one round. Is that how many were you supposed to do?
We could do everybody though, maybe
Oh, okay,
one time. Okay.
great. We have time. Then if everybody can stay a little bit longer, like
Sure.
10 minutes over, I think.
Okay,
Right.
I'll go then. I am one thing you should know about me. I'm originally from Holland.
Does that mean you like cheese?
Yes.
Does that mean, are you from European country?
Yes.
I have European countries.
Mhm. Does that mean that you have sort of a different sense of your security from being from a smaller country?
Nope. I can only say yes or no. Huh? Okay.
Peter.
Does that mean that you felt like you had to immigrate for some reason?
Sorry?
Does that mean that you felt like you had to immigrate for some reason to the U.S.?
Yes.
Was it? Did you feel you had to immigrate for political reasons?
No.
Does that mean you are better than Americans?
No.
Or worse than Americans?
No.
Does it mean that you felt very constricted in your life?
Yes.
Did you feel constricted because of religious reasons?
Yes.
Okay.
Did you feel culturally, does that mean you felt culturally isolated here in America?
Yes.
Does that mean you have very little to no friends?
Very little what?
Very little to no friends at all?
No.
Does that mean that you miss your home country?
No.
Does that mean that you found some sort of spiritual freedom in this country that you couldn't find in Holland?
Wow. No.
Okay.
Does that mean you hate American politics? Does that mean you hate Trump?
Oh, that is a trick question. Okay, someone else.
Okay, I'll go then. One thing you should know about me is I am a seeker.
Does that mean you always have million questions in your mind?
Yes.
Does that mean that you are hardly satisfied with your own family?
Yes.
Does that mean you are like all of us?
Yeah, I think so. Yes.
So, are you seeking material? Are you seeking material things?
No.
Does that mean that if you found material things that you would stop seeking?
No.
Yeah.
Does that mean you want to travel all over the world? Keep traveling?
No, I did that already.
But still you have questions. Still you are a seeker.
Yeah.
Does that mean does that mean you want to go on a second world tour?
No. No.
Does that mean that you'll ever be satisfied with finding something?
I'm afraid not.
Does that mean that you're restless?
Yes. So I feel heard. I feel good.
Okay.
I can pass it on. So whoever wants to go next.
One question for you, Edwin.
All right. I am adventuresome.
Does that mean you like to kayak? In dangerous places, I should add.
We'll have to say yes or no. I guess yes. But,
Does that mean that you sometimes get into situations that you regret?
no.
Does that mean you have encountered a lot of accidents?
No.
Does that mean that you feel a free spirit inside of you?
Yes.
Does that mean that you want to go deeply into exploring feelings?
Sure.
Does that mean you are different from people around you?
That I'm what?
You're very different from many of the people around you. Different from people around you in your family, in your friends. Are you different? Does that mean you are different?
No.
No?
Does that mean that you are a planner?
Yes.
Does that mean that you like thrills?
Yes. Thank you. I feel that's fine. Oh, there's another question. Great. I'll answer it.
Yeah. Does it mean that you like heights and lows?
Peaks and valleys.
Peaks and valleys?
No.
Oh. Okay.
Thank you. I feel heard.
Okay, I think it's Peter, right? It's the last, or
Okay. What's the statement again?
one thing you should know about me is that I am.
One thing that you should know about me is that I am in search of something.
Does that mean you're also a seeker?
No.
Does that mean you are after money? A lot of money?
Yes.
Does that mean that you feel you should have had something already?
Yes.
Does that mean you feel unfulfilled?
Yes, yes.
Does that mean you still feel hopeful?
Yes.
Does that mean that you that it's hard for you to have people boxing you in?
Yes.
Does that mean it sometimes worries you if you will ever reach your destination?
Yes. Yes. Thank you.
Would you know what you seek if you found it?
Yes.
Nope. Okay.
Have you ever experienced it before?
No.
Do you know if people that have experienced it?
No.
Does that mean you have less chances? Sorry.
What? I can't hear you.
Just a joke. Does that mean you have less chances?
No.
Does
No.
that mean that you feel out of place?
Yes. All right, I'm complete. Thank
Okay.
you very much, guys.
Thanks. Yeah.
Wow.
So,
Yeah, I think, wow.
that was, we'll do a debrief on that. That was actually kind of fun. I kind of enjoyed that. There was something about it seemed like we were hitting like real clarity pockets of real interesting clarity that were like really enjoyable for me.
Well, for me, first, I was just taking it as fun, to be honest, because I was thinking of it like a party game.
Yeah.
But then I'm realizing, like, maybe because of the relationship we're creating here, like, I am more curious about you guys. And, like, you know, almost like what's a question that will get me information and rile you up at the same time?
Sharing, yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I could see the benefit of it, but I would introduce it differently, more to indeed how deep, how enjoyable this is to try to guess in the gist of a person, you know, to really do your effort to not only just for joking, but to really feel it, what the person says, and if you can give a synonym for it. Yeah. So I would, I could adapt it.
It's even a feeling or a needs guess in a sense.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Any other feedback on that one? That was, yeah.
Can we note down today's session? Can we type notes? Because it was a lot.
Yeah, we can. I can upload it, and we can review it and kind of take notes from that. I didn't take any notes. Oh, you have notes?
What I'm trying to suggest is I have taken notes, but it's not everything. But if individually, if each of us can note down what we spoke, it will be easier. Because I've not taken everything, and it is a lot to write. So if we write individuals discussion, so we know what we spoke, right? So it will be faster.
Yeah, I won't remember, but I will put this online and maybe go through it because I did want to get the feedback that we had from each of the different activities, and I'd like to put that feedback. So what if we put it online and that we could even split it up and then sort of note take or go through a couple of passes or something like that. It was a very rich insights. And
I have the structure, like who went first, who went second, and who spoke to whom. If I can put that structure, like the order, so I think it will be easier for us to type our notes, the individual notes, what we spoke.
Okay, so if you post it all online, you put it in the document, then I'll go through a pass too and kind of take some notes.
Yeah. Structure as in the heading, who spoke to whom. So individual can fill up their comments, what they commented in today's session. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'll never remember, but I will we'll go through it. I will post it and listen to some of it.
What I'm trying to say, you write yours, Bill will write his, Celia will write hers, Peter will write his comments, what he spoke. So each of us will write our own comments.
Well, at the risk of being unmutual, it's not a good learning modality for me to write while I'm talking. And I'm not looking to transcribe, to spend a lot of time transcribing. And that's why I wanted to kind of create the lessons. Certainly, I'm going to try to up my skills, and I don't mind going through it and looking at what Edward was talking about, even though don't quite understand it. But I'm looking for, a little bit more freewheeling and when I take notes and listen, it's not a good learning modality for me.
Okay, I didn't mean that you have to like transcribe or write notes, whatever, just top of your head. If you remember something, some ideas that you spoke, maybe I can write the topic, what you spoke, and the content, you can not necessarily need to have notes, and not necessarily you have to go back and listen to the video. I mean, if you have if I give the title that you spoke about this, so would it help you to remember what you spoke? Just wondering.
I guess if we go to that Google Doc and then we do kind of like reflections, written reflections, I'm sort of saying, hey, Bill, you said this, what do you mean? Or could you flesh this out? Yeah, that's something that I wouldn't mind at all. Except that, again, my technical, I'm still, I got into the Google thing today, but I'm very happy with myself, yes. Okay.
Okay, Celia, any thoughts on that? Or
Yeah, it's a lot of work to do that, but I think it's vital to see what we came up with individually, and some gist things, what this was all about.
Yeah, just some pointers to remember and to recap when we want to go to that document.
I do try to listen to all the recordings. But I only have several hours where I can do it, and if one's taken away, then I can't. So but also for the other group, I try to listen to the other group.
Yeah, and I would also like the activity. I want to cut the activity as a separate clip and then put it on the activity page. So Celia did that activity last time. I found the points, the beginning and end point, and then put it into the activity page, so that it's kind of like the beginning of a little video clip for each activity, so people can not only read it, they'll be able to see it and how it's the introduction, and we can keep refining. So that's something I want to work on. So,
like we could give a little video example of this exercise, for example, this last exercise.
That I can find. I put it into the video editing program I have, and then I can find the beginning, and so that this clip of just this exercise I can export as a separate video clip.
Yeah.
And then kind of embed it into the wherever.
The toolkit.
Yeah, into the toolkit. Okay. So that's kind of what I was imagining, thinking in terms of these activities. Each activity kind of has a page description, kind of an outline, as well as videos, samples, feedback. So we kind of flesh out each activity as something that people can use and kind of grow from. So with that, so we wanted to end, bring to an end, to end maybe again a mirrored, just to get back into our bodies, like after feeling into our bodies again, like what feeling, and the mirrored feeling. So I'm kind of, this is me, kind of what I'm feeling. Great. Almost like a heartbeat. And I kind of just singe the hairs on my, I'm smelling burnt hair. So that feels good.
Attention candle.
That's
come with a warning.
Torch come with a warning. Do not get too close. Okay, you want to go around?
Sure.
I'll go.
Mm-hmm.
So I am like coming towards listening.
Mm-hmm.
From outside to inside.
Okay, and I'm feeling that my listening skills, my ears are getting really big.
So
and they wiggle too.
They wiggle too. Yeah.
I feel like, wow, me holding back things, and then whoops, it's there. It's a fun exercise. First I think no, and then whoops, it's a fun exercise.
Oh, it's a fun exercise.
Yeah.
It's a fun exercise.
I caught myself. Yeah. Peter?
Yeah, I feel like just doing a big sigh because we did a lot of work, just like the end of a lot of work. Like,
And with your arms crossed too, I
yeah,
see.
let's do it.
Whew.
All right. I'm done.
Okay. So we had started with setting our intention. We held our intention here. It's been a constant reminder. So as we close, we want to take that intention to build a culture of empathy and blow that intention out and take it with us through the rest of the day. So from wherever we are, take a deep breath and let's blow that intention.
Can I say one more thing?
Yeah.
I'm so happy that your tire blew up.
Intention was to attend the class and not do the jury duty.
It was meant to be here. Yeah, I'm so glad too.
Yes, it was meant to be. Thank you.
Okay.
See you guys next